50 Cent's Blood on the Sand is a genuinely good game. I actually may go as far as to say that it's one of the best games on the Xbox 360. It doesn't have much of a narrative. Actually, I would go to say that the game goes to great lengths to hide the fact that it does have a narrative. And I think that this is the strongest point of the game. It was entirely an exercise in ludology, and this comes as a benefit to this particular game. See, you are greeted by one opening cutscene, and then you are dropped into the game. Sure, there are small amounts of dialogue here and there, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is to play the game. It's a game about gameplay, it's not a game about narrative. See, I believe that the era of the PS3 and the Xbox 360 was the era of the death of the ludological theory, because developers began prioritizing graphics and story, but they forgot one crucial thing. They weren't good writers. See, we were stuck in this era where the ideas that games could tackle were still rather limited, but the amount that they wanted to tackle were large. This is how we get games like Heavy Rain. So, these games were trying to be movies, but because of the medium that they were in, they were stuck to always having narrative worse than the movies that they were trying to imitate from. See, at this stage, games were rather derivative in their nature. They weren't something that were truly original plots or storylines. You didn't see much originality except for in cases of BioShock, which really was a spiritual successor to other mediums, and had very clear influences and metaphors that were tackled by other things. But see, the graphics are good enough now that they can chuck on film grain and have shadows that look really bad, but, when you're moving, they look kind of alright, And this is why, with this generation, and the rise of the indie game, that most of the good games were from these independent developers. If you look at Fez, if you look at Castle Crashers and Binding of Isaac, these are all incredibly interesting games with deep or no narrative whatsoever, depending on how you choose to view them. When I get right down to the point that I want to make, ludological theory trumps everything else that video games can do. And this is the true essence of video games. The reason why the original Legend of Zelda is considered one of the greatest games of all time is not because it had this epic storyline whatsoever. The reason why it's so loved is that it has this ludology that carries the player's experience. Now, 50 Cent Blood on the Sand, I think, does the same thing. To an extent, at least. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, go and check out my Patreon, and consider donating. There are some pretty good perks.